Primarily, we've got an interesting economy. It's different to the rest of the country. We don't have the big mining businesses like we've got in the north, and so we need to expand and grow our economy, create jobs, and entrepreneurs are those mechanisms, those people who build companies, create them, grow them, and at the end of the day help us with our big headache, which is the 543,000 people in this province who don't have a job. So entrepreneurs are very, very important on my agenda. So we have many areas, from ED funds to we run lots of competitions to try and entice entrepreneurs. We have a big problem, and I've put funding into the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor so that we can get an understanding of what the entrepreneurship levels are like in the Western Cape. And that really gives us the information in which to make our decisions on how much budget to put towards it, what kind of programs to have in place. And I think that's one of the issues that have come out of that entrepreneurship monitor, is that we have entrepreneurs with good ideas, but I think the risk-taking appetite is not high enough. So if you compare us to the 74 nations that the GEM report works with, it really says that we're probably about half. So it says 28% of those with great ideas in like economies are prepared to take a chance on an idea. We are about 14%. So we're about half our competitor norm, which says we've got to do a lot of work on trying to encourage entrepreneurs to take that risk. I think there's another area that, and so we've got competitions like the Premier's Entrepreneurship Competition, where we recognize entrepreneurs. I want to create entrepreneurs as heroes in society. I think so too often our heroes in society, and I'm not sort of bashing sports heroes, but that's really good to have a sports hero. But I think so often, specifically in some of our poorer areas, the risk that the gangster is the hero is huge. And so how do we create the entrepreneur as the hero? And that really is what I'm after. How do we do that? We need to showcase. We need to create environments that entrepreneurs can enter these competitions, can be recognized, can get some reward out of it, but at the end of the day that we can actually use these entrepreneurs as our ambassadors, so that young people understand that they can take these chances, they can follow in the footsteps. I think also something that we need to work on going forward is how we treat failure in the entrepreneurial space. And I think as South Africa, we've got some big lessons to learn. I look at competitor nations. When someone gets their business going and their business fails, you can see people rally around them. Okay, what's next? This is not the end of the world. Here we almost kind of ridicule people who fail, and I think we need to do some work there, because entrepreneurs are people who take risks and chances, and most successful entrepreneurs in the world have not only had successes, they've always had failures, and we learn from our failures. It is a big issue. It's an issue that really does worry me, where you look at the economic growth rates across Africa, across the world. 7 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa, and we're definitely not one of them. We're way down on the list. And we've also got to take a big approach. So entrepreneurship plays a role. How we get our businesses to market plays a role. How we interact in the African market plays a role. I've been doing a lot of work now with our IT incubators, with our IT entrepreneurs and tech entrepreneurs. And so we're trying to build a network of partnerships of incubators across Africa, and we've been involved in Mauritius. We've just had a team come back from Ghana. We're working with IT incubators in Kenya and in Nigeria, saying how do we build these partnership platforms that businesses and young entrepreneurs can actually meet their fellow entrepreneurs or potential market partners in other parts of Africa, and we actually build this economy across Africa. But we've got to also look at all the other barriers, and there are so many of them, and that's how we remove those barriers, how we get the red tape out of the way and create the right environment. Because at the end of the day, I'm from government. My job is to get the environment right. And once you've done that, maybe a little bit of stimulus here and there, free Wi-Fi, which we've been launching in the last couple of days, in poorer communities, and broadband rolling out across the province. All of these are investments into creating the right environment for entrepreneurs to do what they need to do. I think there are two things here. I mean, sure, a lot of people try and copy, but I think there's lots of innovation coming out. Our big problem in South Africa is when those innovators actually do get themselves going, we kind of lose them. So, you can always celebrate the big heroes, from the Vinnie Linghams to the Mark Shuttleworths to the Peter de Villiers. I mean, they really have developed unique products that are, really taking massive space in the economy, in the global economy. But why they're South African? Why did we lose them? And that's what bothers me, is how do we create the right regulatory environment that says, because especially in IT and ICT and in the new tech world, you don't have to be based in other parts of the world. You can be based right here. We were speaking earlier about UStart and OVA, who kind of won this competition. Here you've got a young American who has chosen this part of the world to live, to open his business, to run his business, to grow his business, and to actually give his product to the rest of the world. So why did he choose that versus someone else choosing? And I think a lot of it's to do with angel investors, a lot's to do with our taxation regulation. And so those are the kind of things that I need to try and apply my mind to, so that we can use those levers, specifically legislative and regulatory levers, to create the right environment to entice, first of all, those kind of entrepreneurs to stay. And then I think it's because that also in itself creates the right ecosystem. And that's why we invest in incubators, and that's why we look at these partnerships to try and create the right environment so that innovators come up with solutions for our problems here. And what I always say, it's how do we develop solutions in Africa for Africa by Africa, and that's what we need to be doing. I think it's starting to grow, especially in the ICT sector. So, I mean, very private sector driven. Silicon Cape, they really are pushing the boundaries. We're trying to attract some of those great entrepreneurs to come back, reinvest in the region, because they obviously come from here, and I think that's starting to work. And so slowly but surely, I think we are getting to that right ecosystem. I like to put challenges out there. I mean, I was just launched this free Wi-Fi rollout, which are pilot projects for us to learn in poor communities what happens when you create a highway. So you put the free Wi-Fi in, what happens? I was in a little village called Toes-Runton on Monday. This is a village in the garden route up behind Wilderness. People that live in this village predominantly work on farms. And quite interesting, here we've got a free Wi-Fi spot that was launched on Monday, but had gone live a short while before. And one of the problems when you get a hotspot is you've got a range. You've got a range of effective connection, a couple of 100 meters. And specifically in impoverished regions where people have lots of corrugated iron, that acts as barriers to Wi-Fi. And amazing, somebody came up and walked into this meeting with an innovation. Here we had a plastic Coke bottle with a Wi-Fi connector booster connected to a little aerial that was siliconed inside the Coke bottle. A tin can had been opened up and glued to the side of the plastic Coke bottle. The Coke bottle is just to keep it waterproof. The tin can was opened up as a reflector and directed, and then it had a lead that connected onto your PC or onto your laptop, and you could put this on top of your shack, and you increased your connectivity up to 1 kilometer. So there's real innovation happening, and the thing's not even launched yet. And that for me is really exciting. So it's how do we're putting quite a lot of money into creating an environment that I think is going to benefit entrepreneurs hugely. And then I also like putting in prizes. I like stimulating through people saying, well, I'm going to enter the race. And I mean, those of you that have heard me speak on platforms, I always say that you need to have consciously entered the race. And once you've done that, you behave differently. So people who, if I had to say to you, enter the Comrades Marathon for next year, the first thing that you put your money in and signed on that dotted line, the next thing you have to do is start training. You have to start understanding there's a competition coming up. And so once you've entered your name into an entrepreneurship competition, or as I've just now said, we've got some innovation competitions, we've got some design competitions. Once you've put your entry in, or you've decided that I'm going to actually go and try and win this prize, you think differently. And that's what I'm really after at the end of the day. Red tape to red carpet, creating an environment that we think differently, from a government point of view, do we think differently? Are we open to suggestions? Can we get things to happen quickly? Because at the end of the day, it's not about red tape, it's actually about ease of doing business. Investing into broadband is not about just connectivity, it's about creating an environment. So we have an easy place to do business, we've got a right environment, we create the right ecosystem. And then, of course, then I must sit back and we must actually allow this organic growth to come up. I think what we're doing is we're on the right track. It's starting to, there's exciting things happen on a daily basis. My name is Alan Winde. This is Invent Africa. I'm the Regional Minister for Economic Opportunities, and I've got two departments: agriculture, economic development, and tourism. So quite frankly, my job is the politician in charge of the economy in this province called Western Cape, the southern tip of Africa.